Now,
So we bought the tickets.
that's just zip. That's what it looks like to me. Not so, because to see if it's and it doesn't sound, so it's not so. So I don't know what it is. I'd like to know what it is. Let me show you.
Vern got here and turned the air conditioning
I got
Yes, it is. One of the two legs.
All right.
Who's gonna go?
No, he's not here.
We got public properties first.
Public property?
Is he here? We're recording tonight. We're live.
I feel like I have You're up first, buddy.
Too close to the firing line.
Matt, keep that up because I don't have my iPad.
Me either.
I can make that happen. It's not good. All right, are we ready? Yes, we're ready. All right, for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start tonight with Public Properties Committee. Is there any public comment for the Public Properties Committee? The one agenda item we have is granting Friendly Chevrolet use of Village Square. John Schroeder, founder of Friendly Chevrolet, began their dealership in Chatham on the north side of the square, and they're celebrating their 50th anniversary. And they're going to utilize the square for that celebration. Is it a sale now?
Yes, an event, they they're calling it. They-
So it's a sale. Do we get the sales
It's,
tax?
Oh, I doubt it. I'm not sure how that works. David probably knows better than I.
Do we get sales tax?
Zip code by the purchaser. So if everybody from Chatham goes buy some car, then it's we would. Beyond that,
This is a nice event. John, like I said, John Schroeder started the Chevrolet dealership in Chatham on the square there, what is now the CRC, whatever, the children's recreation. That was Chevrolet at one time.
So they want to actually fill
So
the
they're
grass
gonna use
parts of the
parts
square
of
with,
the, from my understanding, they're going to use the west side of the square, the parts that we haven't developed, and then the square side of the streets. I think it'd be a good thing for Chatham.
I'm good, bring people into town.
Yeah, questions? Do we need a resolution? Or-
My understanding, they were going to contact Chatham Township to see if they could rent part of that facility too.
set up their sales office inside? We need a resolution to give them that for the extended time.
So I think you just need to make a motion out of this committee that
Question for Dan.
what happens with the church parking?
they're going to make that side of the square available on Church Day.
So they asked for it. They cancel cars if they don't sell cars.
Oh, I know, but
They
they're
have
not
to
gonna
move
move
them out
them
the
back.
way.
They'll have to get them out of the building.
They're asking for 3 weeks at a time here.
Let's just make sure that they're away from the south side.
Okay. From the, yes, south side.
So, any other business for public properties? Okay, no. Close public properties.
Public safety, is there any public comment? Questions? Hearing none, there's no old business. Under new business in front of you, you have a intergovernmental agreement. This is an intergovernmental agreement that the chief is proposing. I think we've entered into it last year. This allows for a member of the Chatham Police Department to serve on the, along with the Sangamon County Sheriff hostage negotiation team. The chief, if you want to talk about some of the benefits of this that we've had in the past. And
Yeah, what this is a multi-jurisdictional group that we have a member in already. And the benefit to Chatham is that gives us, an officer gets free training and also real life experience. And they have a call out in the county, and on-call list, they'll get called out and actually have to do hostage negotiations. So if we haven't been in Chatham, we already be prepared for that. It's a standard agreement, it's through the sheriff's office. He acts under the cover of law for the sheriff's department at that time. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
wasn't one of our officers who made participate in one in Springfield recently?
Yeah, they have one recently. We actually have 2 officers on the tactical response team as well. The nice thing about that is it brings training and knowledge back to us, and then they train us on some things they learned through there. So there is a benefit for us on this.
The chief explained.
If they're acting under the authority of the sheriff's department, who pays their overtime?
It's not overtime. First of all, training is, we either form as one of their shifts, or we adjust our day off to accommodate for the training, because they train once a month. Also, if they get called out, we have an agreement with them that they will get 1 hour comp time for the time that they're out. So there's no monetary cost on that other than comp time.
Right in my mind, Mr. Scott. We talked about that. So if you guys are good with this, I know she would like to take action with it. He also talked about the tactical team. He's waiting that we haven't gotten an agreement yet from the county on that, but we possibly will be getting one shortly on that too.
And on the hostage negotiations team, I think they've been called out twice in the last 2 years. But most of it's training, which will benefit us.
Any questions? Okay. Then the other thing that's been put on the agenda tonight is street legal golf carts. Had a gentleman, as you guys saw out front, a demonstration and a model out there for one. Pretty nice, probably nicer than my Ford F-150 I got. I don't know if you have anything to add to it. I know just from a past, I think this has been brought up before, and you know, I mean, I'm open to looking into it. I know there's other municipalities that are doing it and just seeing what, you know, kind of ordinances or, you know, what rules are in place for those. I don't know if you have any questions or any comments that you might have.
I'd like to just say, I'm trying to get it street legal. It is street legal right now in all the other communities around. I made sure it was colorful so everybody see me.
Ken, John, there are some, you know, rule, I mean, and I think John did a
explain those a little bit? Or can you address it right now?
It was brought up a few years ago, and at the time I was against it because I was more of a public safety issue, but since then I've done some research. There are several communities that do allow it now. When it was first brought up, the law was very new. I found several ordinances, there's one in Champaign County, Chillicothe has just started doing it. My main concern would be public safety, although I'm not against it. You know, the questions I would have would be, is there any liabilities that the village might take on by allowing an ordinance if someone gets hurt, fatality, something like that? I'd be concerned about that. I mean, if there's no liability on our end for allowing it to happen, I have no problems with that. The other thing I would recommend is if you're going to do it, make it a permit, an annual permit. Most of the places I found is $30, $35 per year, and they have to bring in proof of liability insurance. They have to let us inspect it to make sure it has home turn signals, everything should have to be street legal. We would have to make sure it they couldn't be driven on the state highway and across, which is in most of the ordinances. I think you need to put an age limit on it. Most of them are either no one under the age of 18 or no one under the age of 21. You have to have a valid license. And then the other thing is make sure they stay off the bike trail. So those would be the things I'm concerned about. Other than that, if those were all addressed, I am really not against or for.
I'm just speaking as a senior citizen now, that I think people, it's something that we're going to have more and more older people in Chatham, and I think it's a positive thing.
You know, we're gonna have 50 new seniors coming in within 6 months down on South Park. And I know several of them have their own golf carts. But we're all getting older. Just something I can go to church in, believe it or not, even though it's bright green, or someone go down and get a gallon of milk, you know, whatever. And stay off them Route 4. And just to cross it. But, I think everybody's doing it just about, and I would like to see Chatham do the same. And I'd be willing to wait like 3 weeks till the new trustees come in and have a chance to vote. If you want, give you time to call the other villages and see what they might have to offer. But I'll do anything that you want to do to make it any better. You won't go over 30 miles an hour. Most golf carts do 16 or 17. And take the governor off. Get it up. So I don't have to slow it down. That's it. I just want to bring the board and hopefully get approval on it.
I also looked up online on the internet, golf carts, and there are several ordinances out there already that you can look at, and there's quite a few good ones. So,
Does the slow speed cause an issue?
it would probably be an issue if, I don't know how you're going to want to address that as far as you have to move over, or let people around you. I do know that if you allow it, we're going to get complaints. You always do, and it's something that people aren't used to, and it will put more of a burden on us, but that's okay. I mean, we can handle it. So.
I also would loan it out any of your functions for parades or anything you might want. The trailer that I pulled it on actually can pull the golf cart with lights and every turn signal and everything on my trailer too. Whatever you require, I'll make do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said,
How fast do you want to, do you think it's kind of something to wait, or?
I don't, I think, at this point, I mean, honestly, I'd like to take a look at some of the other ordinances that the other municipalities and counties have, and just kind of see what the general themes are on it, and then, we can bring it back for discussion, maybe do a draft ordinance, and then just see where we want to go with it.
Test drive as well.
I think the biggest thing is.
Test drive.
I think the biggest thing is the
Most
age,
of the villages
because I
have a
know
little
down in
2x4
Florida.
inch sticker you put on the back of it. It says Chatham permit number, so. And $25 to $50 is what most of them charge per year.
And if you like, the ones I found that look like good ones, I can scan them and
Please.
send them to you guys.
Please,
I'll do that tomorrow.
I think the biggest thing is the age, because down in Florida, there's a lot of gated communities where they have golf carts. And no offense, I'm a senior citizen myself, but some of those people get behind there and they just go like bats out of hell. So, nobody under 18 or
17 miles an hour.
well, the ones down in Florida go much faster than 17 miles an hour.
You gotta get him to take the government.
Well, the ones down in Florida go faster than that, because I've been on a couple of them and they They Zoom. But the biggest thing is kids getting onto them and taking out fun. That's my biggest concern.
We'll move forward, we'll take a look at it, and then we'll see about coming back to the draft or see what kind of general theme is for the next committee meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have for public safety.
I had one thing before you can, where are we on the ESTA plan?
Vern, do you want to address, since you're right on top of that and you're in that? I know that there's a lot of stuff that's been going on and a lot of discussion with the finalized plan.
I don't know if
As
we
far as I
need-
know, we're near completion. I think we funded,
What's it? I'm sorry.
You can wait until that I know of. Except you have to be a licensed driver.
Oh, licensed driver, I got you, sorry. Thank you.
as far as the SEMA plan, I know we're near completion. Dale might be able to answer better than
I think Hero would like to have the plan completed by the end of May. It's right now his current goal. We met last week with the staff and went through a whole series of tests with him, trying to get the book ready. Sherry and Jill have been working with him, and I think he'll make it by the end of May. Would you confirm?
Yeah, I think so.
And is it correct in my understanding that there is no current building now for those that do not have substantial structures to go to in the event of tornado?
You're talking a pre-event shelter.
Yes.
Right. No, there's no pre-event shelter. Well, and it could be post-event, but that was something the incident commander would have to work out. And, yeah, Red Cross is actually the agency that's in charge of shelters.
Because we used to have one, correct, and that was a community building?
Yes. Yeah, for some years, we've done it down there. Matt, Don Stevens worked that out when he was on the ESDA team and township supervisor.
I know just, on some of the brief communication I've had with Hero, I know since they had pre-event shelters and things like that, a lot of the national guidelines and things have changed in terms of the attitude towards sending people out into storms, pre-event and things like that. I know that, in terms of IEMA and even the National Emergency Management, that's not really a recommended practice for people to funnel out before a storm to go to a shelter, at this point. And my point is that, the guidelines have changed a lot, so I know that there's been a lot of, reworking the previous plan that we had in regards to that. Yeah, shelter in place.
Well, Hero also talked about possibly requiring those types of structures be built if we're doing large-scale development or something like that. So if we have an area that someone's going to come in and do anything, have a structure that's required for that area.
Common facility.
A common facility for those people in that area to be able to go to. So.
Anything else on this that Matt can talk about? Sorry, SEMA, Chatham first. That's all I have for public safety.
All right, Public Works, we'll jump into that. Public comment or questions. I don't have a specific thing with water on there, but Jewel, anybody have things that you want to address or bring up today? No. Mr. Scott?
I had requested last week that the trustees consider an ordinance calling for a forensic audit. I never know where my comments best fit, so I'll just chime in here. I would again ask that some sort of action be taken via resolution or ordinance calling for that. I know it's only been one short week, but I would tell you that I have concerns about it being done sooner than later. Depending upon what did or did not happen, time essentially is a factor in our ability to address any issues should we find them, be they civil liability or criminal wrongdoing or anything like that. In a perfect world, there will be no issues. But the lawyer in me says that you shouldn't wait until your window for addressing them is over. So I would again renew my request and ask that we address this sooner than later, because the audit in and of itself is going to take time. We know a lot of the events surrounding this occurred in 2012. We're looking at the outside window right now, as it is, for a lot of things, depending upon whether or not anything ever is found. Additionally, the longer we wait, the longer questions linger out there, and I think honestly to address this sooner than later and put it to bed is probably best for everyone. Unrelated to that comment is a question about negotiations with some of our public works employees. My understanding that we cannot utilize a consultant, that we were engaged in collective bargaining. My understanding also is that there was conversations regarding cost of living. I am by trade a labor lawyer. I would tell you the cost of living was virtually nothing for 13 to 14. In fact, I think it was negative 1%. CPU was minus 0.25%. If we are giving raises, we need to take that information into account. All of this information can be found online, by the way. My understanding is there were conversations about cost of living being 3% this year. That's not even remotely close. So I don't know where you are in the negotiations. I don't care to know where you are in the negotiations. I understand that that's subject to closed meetings, and that's fine. But if you're not getting the right information, I would encourage you to get the correct information. If we are giving out lucrative 3% raises, I would tell you right now that that is lucrative, and it is not called for in this economic climate.
Anyone else?
Gary Dees widened my driveway, and I don't know if I can.
What was that?
Gary Dees widened my driveway and put fresh rock down, and I didn't have a lake when we had water or even when it rained on Sunday, so I just wanted to say he and his crew were thrilled.
That is great. Okay, we'll move on to old business. We have Oxford. No, we're not ready for that yet. Okay. Transportation planning agreement. Who wants to jump on that? I didn't put that on there.
That's normally Mr. Williamson, that's the SATS committee.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the annual event where we are in arrangement with the Springfield-Sangamon County Regional Plan Commission. We have a seat on that body. They send us invoices quarterly. And this is the agreement that goes along with it. There's going down to page 1 of the agreement.
This one?
Yes. So it's an annual contract, and then there's an ordinance that's attached to for your folks' approval.
So we look at it today, we sign off on, we vote on it next week.
Yes.
Any issues with that?
It's essentially the exact same contract as last year, Dan.
And we do get a lot of support from them and info, and it's part of the regional Sangamon County.
And we have a voice in the allocation of the traffic.
We have a person on the technical committee and a person on the advisory board.
Perfect. All right, you good with that? All right.
There's the cost,
Yeah, so that's
77.
okay.
Who all sits on the actual, the executive part of the committee?
I do.
I mean, what villages
What bodies are there? It's
Yes.
like transportation.
Federal Highway Administration, the IDOT Regional Office, the IDOT Urban Planning Office,
Sangamon
City
County.
of Springfield, Sangamon County, Chatham, because we grew enough that we got a seat at the table to divvy up the funding.
The transit district, right?
And who else?
The transit district.
Yeah, the transit district, yes.
So we're the only municipality short of Springfield that sits on this? What do we recoup? And I just want to understand.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Are we the only other municipality other than Springfield?
Yes,
As a
we're the only other one that qualifies in the county.
And what do we recoup?
What do we recoup?
Oh, well, we Gordon Drive was funded through that part, you know.
What was, I'm sorry.
Gordon Drive, the improvements on Gordon Drive, We got, all on Gordon Drive, but it puts us in line for, funding. So the group looks at all the projects in the, metro area, just the urbanized area. And,
It's a coordinating effort of the county
Yeah.
to look at all the transportation needs, bike trails, all that other kind of stuff.
Allocates funding.
and then they
And
allocate
then they
funding.
sit and there's a,
Are we ineligible for funding if we don't sit on it?
The what now? I don't know.
Are we ineligible for funding if we don't sit on it?
No, everybody's eligible, Ron. Sherman, Waves, everybody's eligible.
Do we get more by sitting on it?
we have a voice.
I can answer it.
Mr. Coon.
Talk about 12 municipalities that are not represented because they don't have a vote. You, Sangamon County, and Springfield are the only municipalities and counties that actually have a vote. And the 12 smaller ones never get any projects funded ever because they don't have a vote.
Yes would be.
You get millions of dollars allocated your way
Simple yes would have been good.
because you guys get a vote. Perfect.
No, that's a good explanation.
You would not want to give it up for anything.
I just want to know we were getting something for it.
Absolutely, sir.
Good, all right, thank you, thanks for the question. Yes,
The
Jewel.
funding that you were discussing, is that like grants, like they would submit grant proposals, and then we would have a voice in how they're spent, or,
I think it's more, well, you know.
Well,
It's more projects.
Yeah, project.
but the funding comes from,
Federal government,
government.
highway administration.
Federal Highway Administration.
right?
All right, it makes sense now.
Good. Okay. New business, any other new business?
I have a question for Del. From the South Sangamon County Water Commission, now I understand they're gonna do a green sand filter. Are they gonna put the holding tank in as well?
I do not know. I wasn't at any of the meetings recently. Since January, I haven't been involved.
From what
So the
everybody.
green sand filter has been permitted?
That's my understanding. Has it not?
I was at the meeting
not us.
today, and it had been permitted, yes,
Oh, good.
without a settling tank, with the permitting and AP. They are going to, run the filter with the tank in place as it is now, and see how it does. And then project from there what they need to do, if anything.
So instead of fixing it right, we're gonna piecemeal it, correct?
Well, there were several issues involved with the settling tank as far as putting it in. So they're going to move forward with the tank that they have now, which is more of a mixing tank. But they're hoping that that will work adequately with the filter. Max with legal engineering was there, and he did say that they reviewed another plant in Mary that has high iron manganese. Same situation, they was not in a settling tank, they just pushed it straight through the filter, and its life expectancy is 10 years. They say it's doing something. They're just see what happens.
Can we add it later, or does it have to?
We can add it later. Okay.
Mr. Moffett?
Yeah, I have a concern. And this isn't the first meeting he has this time, but I do urge the board to ask our member of the Water Commission to attend our committee meetings so he can give a report on what does attend.
I believe they're in a meeting, Matt. Matt, I believe they're in a meeting. I believe they're.
Well, I'm just saying he's not
I
here.
believe they're at the South Sangamon Water Commission meeting. Is that,
What I'm saying is he's not here.
did it adjourn? Okay, what time did it adjourn there?
It's about 5:30.
5:30.
So he could still be here, even if
And
they're
that's
here at 5:30. So what I'm asking is, the board insists he come to these meetings.
That's something.
Or if he cannot come to these meetings, we get someone who can.
And that's
Because I believe this is a third or fourth meeting he's missed since his appointment.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't care for
Mr.
whatever
Clay.
reason, he can't make it.
Jonathan Clay.
That's something I brought up and other people brought up in the meeting today at the South Sangamon Water Commission is having some kind of status report to present in committee meetings. And Terry, I don't know, he did seem open, but he didn't seem close to it. I know they're trying to conduct their business, but
think he tried to reach out to me right before the meeting, so I'll follow up with him on that as well.
Good. Thank you.
So, and just another update, they did hire Woodard and Curran.
They what?
They hired Woodard and Curran as their management team. That was approved today, they all voted. So hopefully we'll be seeing some positive changes.
And what will they do?
Their scope of work wasn't defined, we didn't get a handout. It was defined to them, the trustees or the commissioners voted and had review of all of that. I don't, they're just not open with what really is the details.
They put the employment agreement on their website.
No,
Did you request a copy of the employment agreement?
he has asked for it. He asked for it multiple times before it was, I'm assuming it was approved, because it was approved. Of course it was.
Would the trustees seek a copy of the employment agreement? I mean, again, you know, we're told they're separate entities. I still, to be quite honest, I still don't exactly know how it all is set up.
But for sure, we're a 90% partner, correct?
You know, if we're hiring somebody to manage this, are they gonna maintain the same employees? Are we getting rid of, I mean, we need somebody here to explain what's going on. I don't have a real good question, I'm just gonna.
They're maintaining this, Dan will stay on, and then they're adding another person in there.
Okay, so, and now,
Have you
that's the
seen
kind
the
of,
contract?
I have
that's,
not seen the contract, just from attending meetings.
okay. So we're hiring a management company, but we're keeping X number of employees, which I presume.
No, excuse me, but at that meeting, actually it said that all the employees will be employees of Woodard and Curran.
We only have,
They would,
but he'll be an employee, they will keep Dan, he'll be an employee of Woodard and Curran under their contract.
Have you seen the contract then?
I know, I said I haven't
Oh,
seen
okay,
it.
I didn't, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I mean, are we just ballooning the staff? What are we getting for it? We need some information, or I'm requesting some information, please.
yes.
We can get Terry, you can check with Terry, see if you'll come forward.
Will they be in control of the chemicals that go into the water?
Yes.
That, from what I understand, that's what they do. I mean, that's their expertise is managing water plants. So they have an army of scientists, chemists, people, and things of that nature.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, the last thing up there is Hurstbourne 7th edition. Go ahead.
Planning Commission met Thursday. Hurstbourne 7th edition came in front of them. They had no problems with any of the stuff. And they moved it on to use for your okay. I'll have it on the agenda for next, there it is,
Vote on next time.
next Thursday.
Okay.
I have a question. What is this letter of credit?
A letter of credit is for pieces of the subdivision that are not yet complete. They have to, essentially, they bond or have proof that they can turn around and afford to, if some of the sidewalks aren't complete, they set aside enough money to be able to complete those. If we have a problem with the sewer line or something like that, before all the final inspections are done, they set aside this packet of money to be able to go there.
Okay, and I only ask because we talked about this in the other subdivision that had the subsidence and such. Is this the exact same thing that we did there? Because if I recall correctly, we had concerns about who was gonna pay to fix the subsidence. RP said they would. There was reference, well, what about that letter of credit? Somebody said the letter of credit's not really worth anything. So what, I mean, we're actually getting cash from them, it's gonna be deposited?
No.
Or,
They put money in the bank and it's set aside to cover this project.
okay,
This is pretty standard, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just the way they do it.
we're not gonna run into the same problems we had with.
The only difference that happens now is previously they would turn around and bond the whole thing. It would go through the process, you would approve the final plat, then they would go out and construct it. We would review it, and if there was anything needed to be fixed, that letter of credit is still there to be able to fix anything. Now the developers have decided to go out, put all the infrastructure in before they bring the final plat in.
How
So
do we keep the letter of credit?
until we review everything, make sure everything checks out, and then we turn around, they request a reduction in the letter of credit or completely removal of it then.
So in the other one where we had the subsidence, we went through those steps, nothing wrong was found, we gave back the letter of credit essentially, or we let it go, or whatever?
No, we found the problem there.
Okay.
We sent the letter to the engineer. The engineer did not pass that on to, at least as far as we know, the person that did the work or the owner.
Okay. So if we had their money, why were we looking to see who was going to pay to fix it? Why did we utilize the money from the letter of credit?
I think you always try to get your developer and engineering firm to turn around and repair the stuff in the manner that they should. It ended up working out that way.
Yeah, our people. Yeah, I know. And the engineer was Green and Bradford, right? Thank you.
All right, so are we good with where we're at with that for next week? Okay. All good, all right.
We also looked at the Christopherlakis preliminary plan, location sketch, and there's one other item. But they had some trouble with it. So what we ended up doing was tabling. We okayed the location sketch, but the other two items, the sketch map and the preliminary plan, were tabled because there was a lot of problems between what the engineers reviewed and what the planning commission was looking for. So
they'll work through some things.
hopefully they'll have a month, and then they'll come back next month and be able to present something that a little better
Addresses the concerns of the planning commission. Good. Oh, that's really good. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
I'm wondering if Woodward and Kern are going to be required to come and give a report, say once a month or something, about what the activity towards fixing the water is going to be. Because if we're paying for this plant that we'll never own out of our pockets, we want to know what's going on out there.
I'll have a commission.
I know that in a conversation I had with Mr. Burke, that was one of the things, the advantageous, one of the advantages of Woodward and Kern is that you'll have those resources, and if there are things that they're popping up, you could turn to them, and they could, Terry or the commissioner or whoever could say, can you come in and help address some of the questions? So that's, again, what they do. I mean, they have about 900 employees, I believe, so I've done a little, looking up on Google and things of that nature. So they have an army of people that at the disposal to hopefully help in any situations that go on out there, but then also in addressing concerns of citizens or anybody else. So, all right, that's it for Public Works and Utilities. Admin.
Joe has a work function tonight. Unless you want to start my function. Public comments for the administrator. Seeing none, there's no old business, correct? New business is the operating engineer's contract.
Dell, you have before you a list of the changes that from the current contract to the proposed contract. Everything in there are things that you have approved in your sessions. I don't know if you need to go to executive session to discuss this or what your pleasure is. It's really your call.
Preferences, anyone?
What are the raises?
Question.
Is it a 3-year deal?
This one goes through 15 years.
Yeah, I'll take your answer. I'm discriminating.
I'm waiting to see if I have the approval
Yeah, definitely.
I have to give the answers.
He asked if we're going to executive session or not.
I don't see needs. This has been ratified already by the union.
Yeah. I don't see any either.
Open discussion.
It is a 3-year deal.
The percentages?
The percentages, I believe, are 3% per year, which is the same contract that the IBEW had and the police.
I don't know who negotiated, and if it's a done deal, it's a done deal, but we need to do a better job, folks. Plain and simple. This is not a 9% over 3-year climate right now. It's just not. We're looking at, Rauner's got a 50% proposed cut. Okay, now, anybody who knows politics, it's not gonna be 50%, but we are looking at losing money. I hear anywhere from 25 to 30%. You can't be giving out 3, 3, and 3, especially when you look at the cost of living and things like that. It's not supported. It's not supported in private sector. It's not supported in public sector. It's not supported by arbitration cases that are going on. It's not. And we should know these things. You know, good for them. But I'll tell you, they got one over on us for the next 3 years.
I have a question. How was the 3%, how did we come up with 3% per year? Was that just because we went off IBW and the police, or did we look across industry standards and across other 965 contracts and say, this is what other 960, this is what other operating engineers got for Springfield, for you know, whatever companies? Where did we come up with 3%? Just the 2 contracts that we already passed?
I think, go ahead, As.
I think that, yes, there was some that looked across the industry. As Rob said, they went out and looked at the cost of living things, and John and Sherry looked at all those things. But I suspect some of it was the relationship of the IBEW and the police contracts that were already approved before. I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth up here, but
How many years
I
ago
think
was
that's probably a part of it.
How many years ago were those approved?
I think
IBEW was last year.
Last year, and I think the police were last year.
That was pre-Rauner's budget. I mean,
If Rauner's, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Rob, but if Rauner's budget, I think, does, and this is something we talked about in the negotiations, that if that comes through the way we hope it doesn't, but if it came through with a large decrease, that we would have to reopen all of these contracts. They would have to, and they agreed to that.
So we have a reopener clause in the
Yeah,
contract.
the operating engineers agreed to.
That indicates that
They said obviously we would have to look at this. Now, I don't know about the IBW, Rob.
Is it in writing?
I'll have to look at that opening clause and see.
Is it in writing?
I'll have to check the IBW contract and see. I have, and I'm sure we'll check the operating engineer's contract.
I mean, I'm on Social Security and I haven't gotten a 3% raise since God only knows how long.
I do this for a living, so it's easy for me to look at this and see things, okay? But, and I appreciate what you're saying, but if it's not in the contract, that we have a reopener under such and such circumstances, it doesn't exist, plain and simple. It doesn't exist.
I agree.
So unless it's in there.
We will address it, whatever Ronner does, we will address it. But Governor Ronner, I don't know the man.
We're gonna have to, but we can't, if we don't have a reopener here, we can't cut their wages based on it. What you end up doing is laying off non-union people or furloughing non-union people.
Or laying off union people.
Try that.
Yeah,
Let's try that.
We will.
That's much easier said than done, no doubt.
Those provisions are in the contract for reduction in forces. We hope it never comes to that. And I don't mean to be dominating the time here, guys.
Anyone else further comment or questions? Tuesday. All right. Okay. Second item then was the annual appropriation transfer ordinance fiscal year. Sherry?
Okay, annually, we amend our appropriation for the fiscal year ends, and this is a summary of what is involved in the ordinance proposed for next week, to amend the transfer, appropriations and to make supplemental appropriations for things that have occurred during the year. And, got a summary, the draft ordinance, and then my worksheets. And this is really preliminary at this point. The numbers I was using were as of April 15th. I like to try and get this as close as possible, so I'll be reevaluating it probably this Friday or Monday. And I will advise you if there's any significant changes in this estimate. To begin with, the majority of the general fund line items were resolved by transferring between budget line items. There was one supplemental appropriation, and if you recall back when we borrowed for the street shop, it was more than was anticipated in the original budget. So you're seeing a transfer out of the general fund to the capital projects fund. That $130,000 was additional borrowing proceeds we were transferring.
Well, no, it's easier if I do it one at a time.
Not for her.
She just gotta read the next paragraph. So we have an overrun on the street shop construction, is that what's happening? And we have to take $130,000 out to finish the construction.
No, we've already borrowed we borrowed additional in 2015 for the street and water shop.
Because we had an overrun.
Because the cost, even before it started, because the cost came in more than was estimated in the 2015 budget.
Which is our trend, but that's another story.
Well, that was a budget that was a year ago and then a project.
Yeah, I know. We say, okay, we're gonna do this, we budget this amount, and then by next year, it's next or whatever. So we've already borrowed the money, but we're taking the 130 to pay it off?
No, this is just to document what that transaction. It's not an additional transaction, it's just to document the additional borrowing and the transferring into the capital projects fund to actually complete the project.
Thank you.
Sherry, I had a question. What is the, and you may not know off the top of your head, what is the increased expenses in salary in the water and sewer?
Let her get there.
Yeah, she-
Oh, okay.
Electric fund, I mean, we have transfers between line items. We do have a interfund loan situation, which happens because the electric and water funds, they actually share an operating account. Since all the utility funds come in together, they're all put into one account. Basically, the water operating cash has been dwindled down. And that moves on to the next point.
So,
The additional
no,
appropriation.
raises the question. So we're taking revenue generated by the electric fund, putting it in the water fund to prop up the water fund, right?
In the form of an interfund loan, so they would have to pay it back over time. It's documented as a loan, and that's what this is doing.
Do we have the right to forgive that loan later on?
They could, I've never seen the board do that.
Yeah.
But they could.
Why is the water fund so short?
The next one's gonna say.
Basically, I mean, I've avoided, known this for a while, but the rates are not sufficient, and they haven't been for some time.
Your 2035 rate.
2045. But it's not her fault. Okay, thank you.
The additional appropriation for the water fund was covering increased expenses in salaries, professional services, water expense, construction costs, and meter purchases.
Sherry, how much are they covering per month more?
How much more are they covering per month?
So the electric is the one water.
Yeah, it has varied throughout the year. It started, I think, in October. I saw it was really basically expenses.
Can you give me a roundabout number?
I'd say it started in October, maybe 60,000 a month. It would come and go depending on what the expenses, how they were rolling in.
What's the additional salary expenses?
Salary expenses are hard for me to estimate, and one of the reasons it is because our employees can cash out vacation time, and it's hard for me to estimate that. try estimating, look at everybody that's being paid from the water fund, and then try and estimate how many people are gonna cash out time. And in this fiscal year, we've actually had some retiree payouts, so they're taking out all their.
Are these vacation payouts pursuant to collective bargaining agreements, or just city policy for non-union?
They're in both.
Okay. I understand we have no choice with the collective bargaining agreements if it calls for it, but I would urge that the trustees take a look at this. I already looked at the vacation that's provided, and you're talking 20, 25 days, which again, you have a lot of people at 25 days. You have a lucrative vacation. We shouldn't be then, I mean, that's a huge bump in salary. You're talking about an extra 6 or 7% of pay. We can't afford to continue like this. Plain and simple. We need to address these things now, not later. Nobody's looking at me, so I'll stop.
And I have one more thing, Sharon, to make the water fund solvent on its own, not having to borrow, what would we, in your opinion, have to raise the rates of water to? Because you just said that the rates were not sufficient to support the water fund. So what is your suggestion to make those rates?
I have not done that analysis.
Has anyone?
Is that something we could have for the next committee meeting?
I could prepare an analysis for that. It would just be, I mean, it's gonna be.
It's a guess.
It's gonna be a guess.
But we're paying $7.10 now, right?
For 1,000.
For 1,000 gallons. That's what we're paying. And we're running $60,000 a month behind, approximately.
Now, I presume we had increased expenses based on overtime for doing this and that, the testing and all these things, which presumably, hopefully, would go down and it's something that we're monitoring. But bottom line is, it's not running profit, we're losing money month after month.
So we're probably gonna have to go up to maybe 10 or more dollars.
She doesn't know.
It all depends on what type of increase the board wants to look at. If you want to increase it to make it run with a rate of return where you're going to be accumulating funds in your treasury, or if you want to just try and break even.
God, start cutting costs.
Well, I think my concern is because the water fund is draining the electric fund, eventually, the electric isn't gonna have any money to support the water fund. So either our electric rates are gonna go up, or our water rates are gonna go up substantially, so we don't have to keep borrowing from the electric. Am I wrong about that?
Del, this interfund, this has kind of gone back and forth over the years, and a lot of it depends on what capital project you have to do, what type of repair work happens in any given year. Sometimes it's more extensive on an electrical infrastructure standpoint, sometimes it's more extensive.
But to
on-
this degree, Dave, to this much.
I don't know the history, but
Yes, it has. I mean, over the years, this is not, I mean, I'd say maybe 10 out of the past 20 years, I've seen this type of situation.
$500,000.
Not that great, and that could be a little bit high, like, I like to sort of estimate high my first time through. But I think at least once within the past 20 years, I've seen it that high at the end of the year.
When we had Springfield Water, did the water fund, was it borrowing from the electric fund on a constant basis?
I'd say yes, at least probably 10 out of 20 years that I've looked at it.
But what number? Not a $500,000. Because I was on the board for 4
Let me
years.
see if I've done that.
one difficulty I think you have looking at this becomes a snapshot of one day. So at one day, she's going to pick a number that we have to balance our appropriations as of the end of the fiscal year. And on that one day, everything has to balance. Now, the very next day, it could change.
But these are educated guesses, Dave. This isn't a shot in the dark.
But it is a one-day picture. That's what
It is
I'm
a one-day.
cautioning you about, to say, on any given day, I mean, you could.
Dave, it's not gonna be zero tomorrow, is the point.
You can defer a bill and it changes this thing. That's what I'm saying. So what I'm cautioning is don't get too bent on, is this one-day picture different than the one-day picture a year ago or not. That's what I think Matt's trying to say is, when we did this one appropriation transfer at the end of the year, did it ever look like this? And it's a hard number for you to remember.
I'm not saying, well, I'm saying 4. I sat through 4 of these.
I can tell you between 2008 and 2011, all 4 of those years had interfund transfers at the end of the year. They
At what
weren't
amounts?
that much, they were between 155,000 and about 56,000.
So this is almost 3 times that much.
I'm sorry, this is my ignorance, so I'm just gonna say it right. So, but you have under the electric fund, 368,000 that was transferred to the water sewer fund. And this, when you say additional, you're saying added to what they had budgeted in the beginning, correct? Is that what you
No,
mean by?
actually, we budgeted, we thought, when we began this year, we thought we were gonna break even. We didn't think, I don't think we thought we were gonna have a net income, but we thought we were gonna break even. But in the first quarter, I could tell water expense was up, and I communicate that in my monthly treasurer's reports to the board. Then by the second quarter, I was seeing the cash, actually. So it was the other expenses starting to build up as well as.
But it's not just the 368, that's just what we're getting from the electric fund. The other is an additional appropriation presumably from general fund or something.
No.
Where's the additional
But
appropriation?
the additional appropriation was we're spending down, we spent down the cash in the water fund.
Okay, so essentially, we needed an extra 868,000 this year for the water fund.
No. The 495 includes the 368.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, that's the at least. Hey, there's a
That's a
silver
little,
lining.
I mean, that's a little bit. I'm just saying.
That's only half million. So
Yeah. Well, no, in all seriousness, that is better.
Hey, Rob, for the same reason they tell accountants not to practice law, this is why they don't want lawyers to do accounting.
Well, I'm not doing the accounting, I'm a citizen who wants to know why we're losing our cash, the water. So if there's no lawyer in here,
Why we're coming.
you'd be getting a lot of different advice if I was a lawyer, I'll tell you right now. It wouldn't be some of the crap advice you got, and I wouldn't represent 3 sides in one contract that screwed the village.
Thanks, Rob. Share.
The next one, several funds altogether, the police pension fund, veterans memorial, yard waste, police and public works facility tax fund. There are either no supplemental appropriations or they're just either transfers between line items, or some of them didn't have any changes at all. The motor fuel tax fund has an additional appropriation of 101,689, and we actually received more per capita, and we got a $45,000 supplement from the state for a state of Illinois program, which I cannot remember what the name of it was, but that was included in our 2014 motor fuel tax program. And the tax increment financing fund, there was an additional appropriation of $125,000, and that is just to increase the amount that we've transferred into the capital projects. That fund is winding down. It will end in November 2015. So we have 2 public works projects out there that were proposed, and we're just spending down the money in the fund that's coming in, and actually spending down what's going to be coming in this year as well. The next year after that.
For the yard waste fund, how is the bag fund doing? I call it the bag fund, the leaf bags,
It does
or over
fine.
$2 per.
Basically, I think we bring in about $130,000 a year, and that goes out. We pay partial street department salaries out of that. We pay for the cleanup program. We pay for the yard waste contracts, the bags.
The fall cleanup. Fall cleanup.
Fall cleanup. They did lease a truck to help in the pickup, so there is an equipment capital cost in there as well. So that's what expenses are in there.
Are we looking at holding off on any of these construction projects in light of what's going on? I mean, have we taken a hard look at, and I don't know the phase West Walnut's in. Are we looking to see whether there's a good point that we can stop spending money on these things till we know where we're going? We had a prior discussion where she talked about having to potentially cut 500,000. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think anybody does. But we are looking at having to save some money. I see that we're transferring to continue a street project. Are we looking at all of these critically to determine whether or not they need to go forward right now. And then one last thing, Dave, if you go back to that amount, it didn't say that that other was included. So absent having some sort of crystal ball, there's absolutely no way anybody would know anything included.
The West Walnut project shared with the TIP fund.
Yes.
TIP is
Do we have any that work on?
We didn't have any project that was outside the TIP or the motor fuel tax fund.
Other than the water building.
We also have the Plummer multi-use trail project, which is into a Department of Transportation grant.
Essentially, there's none that we can save any money on. That's the bottom. I'll take short answers.
Then we have the capital projects fund, another additional appropriation. It's just to account for the additional money we're transferring in for the street shop, for the TIP projects. I know you'll probably go back and do those two don't, the 125 and the 130 don't equal, but we also had plans to spend down money that accumulates in the capital projects for the street shop as well, so.
Do we have to spend that money now? I'm looking for ways to save money right now. If you haven't caught the theme tonight, that's what it is. And we would talk about spending down. I question, is it necessary? Do we have to spend that fund now? Can it not roll over?
These are past events.
These are
This
past
is-
events.
This is a reconciliation.
Gotta spend it down. That's all. Okay.
No, I mean, we don't promote spending that money down. Actually, each year, the general fund tries to put like almost $100,000 into capital projects. Usually, what they go to is for match for the EDOT grants that,
Yeah.
like the Gordon
Right.
Drive,
Yeah.
the multi-use trail, but
Free money. We have to give money to get free money.
But this is just reporting what's already happened, what you had to do, so it's all a done deal.
At the beginning of the year, we passed a budget appropriation.
Right.
Appropriation, got how many lines in it? It's 20-some pages long, each with its own individual. At the end of the year, you have to reconcile that back to what you actually did. So you take what projected.
Right.
and these things were all approved along the way, them financing the shop, the approving of the contracts.
So it's too late to save money.
On these things, yes.
Okay, that's all I need.
I'm just trying to fix it so it shows what happened.
What the true picture is, right?
Okay. And then the last one is the cemetery perpetual care fund. This fund basically just collects revenue. We had a few office expenses. We had to replenish our deposit slips and we actually refunded a lot. I think someone put a deposit on a lot and then they didn't want it, so we refunded it.
I think we addressed this when I was on the board before, but how are our costs as to what we charge for lots? Are they, in your opinion, are they high enough so that at the end of the year we don't have to reconcile and borrow? Or do we need to raise them a little to make sure we have a cushion there in case we do have extra office expenses? In case we do have a situation like you said, we had to refund Joe Smith because he had a.
Well, with the cemetery perpetual care fund, this is like a permanent trust fund. It's just supposed to, basically, the $400 lot fee just sits there and we're supposed to earn investment interest, and that investment interest is supposed to go to, go towards the care and the maintenance of the cemetery. But in today's market and the limited investments that we can put it in, and we're not making any money. So basically whatever interest income that earns off those deposits just stays in the fund. We probably, there might be maybe 50 or 60,000 out there that's accumulated since this fund started and hasn't been spent, and the village could choose to do a cemetery project or something to use it, but they just.
So in your opinion, we're okay as to what we charge?
I guess so. I guess in a roundabout
400
way.
a lot. I mean,
Okay.
Springfield's higher. Springfield's higher, but I'm sure some of the surrounding communities are probably lower, and some of them quite a bit lower.
I'm just looking at this, you know, even though this is what has happened, you know, I'm just kind of seeing a theme in a lot of these, you know, where it says we had to borrow and put in this counter. And what we can do to avoid that, kind of like using, not a crystal ball, but some forward thinking, saying, okay, we have a hole here, how can we fix that hole for next year?
We're looking at the same thing for building permits and inspection fees and stuff like that, all for next budget year. So
Generally, you don't pay anything out of this one.
No, and I don't know that you could even ever get that amount high enough for it to actually be able to transfer money out of it on a, you know, regular basis. I think these cemetery perpetual care funds you don't see them very often in governmental accounting, just basically because you really can't do what they're created to do, is to be able to supplement your cemetery costs.
Questions for Sherry?
Cemetery, it's not just a question for Sherry, it's a question of Dell or anybody. Is there the possibility, I'm sure there is, of privatization of the cemetery, to sell it, to make profit, and do we even know what the value of that would be? To get us out from underneath of it, to,
Yeah, we lost our shirt last year. I mean,
I don't think that's a bad idea, but I'm looking for some market for it.
Are you looking for an investment?
no, I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of, municipalities. I mean, I know you see certain municipalities that have cemeteries, but, I know that it's always kind of one of these up and down things with us, and the cost to maintain and stuff like that. And, if it's something that could be sold or,
we lost, Sherry, we lost a lot of money on it last year, didn't we? You went over the figure.
I don't know if you could maybe lease it, maybe
Oh,
to,
yeah, I mean, I don't know how that works. I'm just throwing that out.
$50,000 to operate the, to pay for the care and the
Ground maintenance.
maintenance.
Does that include salaries?
It's
So 50,000 total a year for us to run the cemetery? And we take in about how much?
Can you look into that, Dell?
No, it's Sherry.
I don't have the number with me.
Not a lot.
Probably not.
Well, I know out in Athens, the funeral home out there owns one of the cemeteries. And you get your plots from that way.
Yeah, you'd have to sell 125 graves a year just to break even, and we're not there. Maybe half, 50.
Anything else in the proposition? Well, I'm saying that. And I'm not saying I'm for either way. At this point, I'm just saying that, is that what, is that been done? Is it something,
There's a lot of graves that's still available on the north side. That top part, we haven't even opened up that, and there's probably at least 1,000 up there. So we're probably talking 1,500, maybe.
Maybe the funeral home here would be interested in something like that.
Food for thought. Sherry, that's all. Any questions? Any other business for Ed? Hearing none. We are adjourned.
Hold on.
No, it's just get right when it can.